Okay, good morning. I think you are hearing me. Then first and foremost, I want to wish all Happy New Year. හැම කෙනාටම සුබ අලුත් අවුරුද්දක් කියලා ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරනවා. මේ අවුරුද්දේ කොහොම හරි හොඳින් තුන්වෙනි අවුරුද්ද වැඩ කටයුතු කරගෙන යන්න වාසනාව ලැබේවා කියලා ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරනවා පළමුවෙන්ම. Then our topic is Buddhist economics. Then I discuss the slideshow from beginning.
Economics. Intended learning outcomes of this session are: understand the concept of Western economics. Understand the criticisms about the Western economics. Understand the basic concepts of the Buddhist economics. Traditional and modern economics. We know that we are living in more complex society. The complexity of the society brings the complexity of human behavior. Basically, two forces help to create human complexity. One is inner complexity, which consists of our feelings and thoughts. In addition to our inner complexity, outside world makes the complexity. Good example is the marketing peoples. They make numerous arousals to purchase different products and services through media. All are depended on the economic condition. Today economic is based on the Western philosophy. Hope to discuss the Western-oriented economic philosophy from this section. Economics can be defined as a science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means which alternative uses. Lionel Robbins, 2002. It is important to note that economics defines ends and means primarily in material terms, which moreover can be quantified in monetary terms.
Okay, then there are different definitions given by different people regarding the economics. However, in here I selected this definition because this definition explain economic as a science. It is a science. However, this science explain two important points. One is end, another one is scared. End and scared means. Then ends and scare means. Ends mean the final output. It may be product or service. Scare means resources are scarce. When we are producing something, we need material, we need human, we need capital, we need land. Then land, human, money, everything are scarce. Then using scarce resources, we try to give something as end for human. Therefore, economics try to balance ends and the scarce using alternative ways. Then important terms in these definitions are end and means. Then end and means both address material terms. Material terms. Scarce resources, material. End may be the product or service. Product or service also the material things. Then therefore, economic, traditional economic, highly talking about quantitative in monetary terms, quantitative. ආර්ථික විද්‍යාව අපි සලකා බලනකොට ආර්ථික විද්‍යාවේ සාකච්ඡා කරන්නේ ස්කෑඩ් රිසෝස් සීමිත සම්පත් සහ අවසාන ප්‍රොඩක්ට් එක ගැන. ඒ අනුව අවසාන ප්‍රොඩක්ට් එක හෝ සීමිත සම්පත් කියන මේ දෙකම කතා කරන්නේ භෞතික දේවල් සම්බන්ධයෙන්. කොන්ටිෆයි කරන්න පුළුවන්, මැන දක්වන්න පුළුවන් විදිහට තමයි මේ දෙකම සාකච්ඡා කරන්නේ.
Immaterial and non-monetary values are considered subjective and outside its scope. By starting that economic means are naturally limited and scarce. Economic theory accepts a natural element of competition for scarce resources.
Then it is clear, in the economy, we are not talking about immaterial or non-monetary values. Why immaterial or non-monetary values are subjective, therefore outside of the economic scope. Then economics starting from the limited or scarce resource. Therefore, economic means competitions for scarce resource. Competition for scarce resource. එතකොට ආර්ථික විද්‍යාව තුළ භෞතික නොවන දේවල්, මූල්‍ය නොවන වටිනාකම් සලකා බලන්නේ. මේවා සබ්ජෙක්ටිව්. මේවා අපිට මැන දක්වන්න බැරි දේවල්. ඒ හින්දා සබ්ජෙක්ටිව් විදියට තමයි අපි සලකන්නේ. ඒ නිසා ආර්ථික විද්‍යාව තුළ මේවා outside of the scope කියලා කියනවා. outside එකක්. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි ආර්ථික විද්‍යාව තුළ භෞතික නොවන දේවල්, මූල්‍ය වටිනාකමක් නැති දේවල් ගණනය කිරීමක් කරන්නේ නැහැ. එතන ආර්ථික විද්‍යාව තුළ අපි සාකච්ඡා කරන්නේ විශේෂයෙන්ම naturally limited or scared ගැන. ඒ කියන්නේ ස්වාභාවිකව තියෙන සීමිත බව තමයි සාකච්ඡා කරන්නේ. ඒ නිසා economic theory accept a natural element of competition for scarce resource. එතකොට මේ scarcity එක සහ non monetary දේවල් නොගැනීම නිසා ආර්ථික විද්‍යාව තුළ ඉබේටම ඇති වෙලා තියෙනවා. It is automatically generated what? Competition කියන එක ඉබේම ඇති වෙලා තියෙන. Competition is a common in the economic theory. Why resources are scarce? Resources සීමා සහිත නිසා, සම්පත් සීමා සහිත වීම නිසා නිරතුරුවම නැත්නම් ස්වාභාවිකවම තරඟකාරීත්වය කියන දේ ඇති වෙන්න පටන් ගන්න තියෙනවා. Then economics theory automatically explain competition because of the scarce resources.
Human is relatively intelligent class evolved from primitive apes motivated by lusts and aggression. Our intelligence has taught us to behave socially, but fundamentally we are selfish beings subject to the law of survival of fittest. Therefore, traditional economic thoughts based on the scarce resources and market competition.
Then what is human? What is human? When we are concerning human has intelligence. Therefore, human is a relatively intelligent class. However, we know human is evolving social entity. It is evolving social entity. Human මානවයා කියලා කියන්නේ බුද්ධිමත් වර්ගයක්. Intelligent class. But evolve. මේ මානවයා අද තියෙන තත්ත්වයට, අද ඉන්න තත්ත්වයට දැන් අපි මේ ඇසිරෙන ආකාරයට ඇවිත් තියෙන්නේ evolution එකක්. ඒ කියන්නේ විකාශනයක් සමග. Then human has evolution. Then according to the evolution, humans start from as a primitive ape or monkey. Then we are usually say monkey. Then we are start from monkey. Then what is the nature of the monkey? Monkey nature is motivated by lust and aggressions. අපි පැවතීගෙන එන්නේ නැත්නම් අපේ මූලාරම්භය අපි කියනවා වඳුරන්ගෙන් කියලා. ඒතකොට මේ වඳුරෝ කියන જાතියෙන් අපි එනකොට මේ රිලව් සහ වඳුරෝ කියන දිහා බැලුවම අපිට දැක ගන්න පුළුවන් ප්‍රධාන ලක්ෂණ දෙකක් තියෙනවා. එකක් තමයි ලස්ට් එක, අනිත් එක අග්‍රේෂන් එක. ලස්ට් කියලා කියන්නේ රාගය. aggression කියලා කියන්නේ ආක්‍රමණය. Then when we are reviewing our origin, then original entity explain two important things. One is lust, other one is aggression. However, when compared with the other animal, human nowadays means the currently, we are intelligent. Therefore, intelligence lead to behave socially. Then we can behave socially because of the intelligence. බුද්ධිය නිසා අපි සමාජයට හරියන විදියට ඇසිරෙනවා. දැන් අපි වඳුරෙක්ගෙන් පටන් ගත්තා කියලා වඳුරෙක් විදියට අපි හැසිරෙන්නේ නැහැ. අපි බුද්ධිය වැඩි හින්දා වඳුරන්ට වඩා අපි දැන් socially behave වෙනවා. When compared with the monkey, our intelligence is high. Therefore, we are behave properly in the society. However, when we are analyzing real behavior of the human, The fundamental behavior of the human. What is the fundamental behavior of human? Selfish, atmarthakami. Selfish being, atmarthakami. Then selfish being. Why we are selfish? I am selfish when selfish when selfish being subject to the law of survival of fittest. Me apita may selfish being subject to law of survival of fittest. මේ කම්පිටිටිව් එන්වාර්මන්ට් එක තුළ නැත්නම් මේ කම්ප්ලෙක්ස් සොසයිටි එකට ගැලපෙන විදියට ජීවත් වෙන්න අපි උත්සාහ කරනවා, but we have to remember we are present in selfish. Therefore, traditional economic thoughts based on scarce resource and market competition. Then scarcity, it is common because resources are scarce. Then second one, market competition. Why market competition? Because of human selfish behavior. මිනිස්සුන්ගේ ආත්මාර්ථකාමී හැසිරීම තමයි මේ කම්පිටිෂන් එකට ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන් බලපාලා තියෙන්නේ.
What the economic expectation, standard of living.
It is obvious. All the economic in the world, all the economic theory explained by different people, the aim is what? The enhancing standard of living of people. මිනිස්සුන්ගේ ජීවන තත්ත්වය වැඩි කිරීම. For the example, at the beginning we are eating rice, boiled rice and one curry. But as a development economics, then nowadays we are taking our lunch with 2-3 curries because of development, because of increasing standard of living. ආර්ථිකය වර්ධනය වීම නිසා මිනිසාගේ ජීවන තත්ත්වය වර්ධනය වෙනවා. That is common for the terms of economics.
Today's economic view. Sustainable development is as development which meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. However, it is difficult to see the sustainable development in the world economy. Political.
Then at the beginning I explained the traditional economy. The traditional economy emphasizes two things. One is scarcity, second one competition. Then as alternative views, different people introduce different concepts regarding the economics. Then therefore today different people have different angles about the economy. Then one angle is sustainable development. One angle is sustainable development. Then what is sustainable development? Sustainable economy. Sustainable development or sustainable economy try to meet the need of present. වර්තමානයේ අවශ්‍යතා තෘප්ත කරනවා without compromising the ability of future generations. අනාගතයටත් සම්පත් ඉතුරු කරලා වර්තමානයේ සම්පත් පාවිච්චි කිරීම තමයි sustainable development එක, sustainable economy එක කියලා කියන්නේ. The thing is, however, it is difficult to see the sustainable development in the world economy. Then what is the practice? Then we can say, we can use label, we are practicing sustainable development. අපි කියනවා අපි sustainable development එකක් කරන්නේ. However, actually we are doing what? Wasting our scarce resource. Wasting our scarce resource. We are practicing, there is a question, are we practicing sustainable development or sustainable economy? For the example, see our nowadays our economy, what is the sustainability? then according to our current situation, it is difficult to maintain day-to-day needs. වර්තමානයේ ආර්ථිකය ගත්තම දවසක වා ගන්නත් බෑ. Then how we are talking about sustainable development? When we are selling our land for foreign companies, when we are selling our factories to foreign countries, when we are selling our naturally valuable places like Trincomalee Port, Galle Port, Hambantota Port for the foreign countries, then how we are talking about sustainable development? අපි මේ වගේ රටේ තියෙන දේවල් පිට රටවල් වලට දීලා 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 දානකොට අපි sustainable development එකක් ගැන කතා කරන්නේ කොහොමද? But some politician or economics can be tell, can be present, can be explained we are practicing sustainable economics. The reality is totally different.
World economy. Political and economic leaders have embraced free market capitalism as a golden formula. Today the G7 or World Industrialized Countries, International Monetary Fund and World Bank prescribe the world a neoclassical recipe of privatization, decentralization, market reform.
Then what is the world views about the economics? Then world's view regarding the economic is pre-market capitalism. නිදහස් වෙළඳපළ, නිදහස් ධනවාදී වෙළඳපළ, නිදහස් වෙළඳපළ. Pre-capital, pre-market. Then pre-market name as golden formula. ඒක තමයි අපට ආර්ථිකය දියුණු කරන්න පුළුවන් හොඳම සමීකරණය. රත්තරන් සමීකරණය විදිහට තමයි pre-market capitalism එක හඳුන්වලා තියෙන්නේ. Then according to the political and economical views, then they emphasize pre-market capitalism like a golden formula because through the pre-market capitalism, they hope they can achieve the economics objective. Then therefore G7 or IMF or the World Bank emphasize under the neoclassical era for the mainly three ideas: privatization, centralization, decentralization, and market reform. What is the neoclassical economic? Neoclassical economic කියන්නේ නව සම්ප්‍රදායික ආර්ථිකය. එතකොට මේ World Bank GS countries ඊට පස්සේ IMF එක මේ වගේ දේවල් privatization, decentralization, market reform වගේ දේවල් රටවල් වලට හඳුන්වලා දෙනවා මොකටද ආර්ථික දියුණුවක් ඇති කර ගන්න.
Government interference. Government interference in markets will only lead to inefficient, wasteful government bureaucracies. As history, the liberation or laissez-faire approach will allow markets to increase wealth, promote innovation and optimize production.
Then you know when we are functioning pre-market, නිදහස් වෙළඳපළ, when we are practicing pre-market, the government interference, government role is important. Then according to the government role in the economy, what is the reality of government interference? We have to review what is the real contribution of the government in the pre-market economy. Then government interference in market lead only to inefficient, wasteful government bureaucracy. Then for the example, recently, then coconut price is increasing. Then how government intervention? Government intervention using the, what is price with the machine. Machine එක මොකද්ද? පොල් ගෙඩියේ ප්‍රමාණයට තමයි මිල තීරණය කරන්නේ. That is the interference. Then you can think what is the real contribution of the government in the pre-market. නිදහස් වෙළඳපළ තුල ආර්ථික රජයේ කාර්යභාරය තමයි පොල් මිල ඉහළ යනකොට පොල් ගෙඩියේ සයිස් පොල් ගෙඩියට මිල වතුනක් දීලා මිල තුල තීරණය කරන්න පොල් ගෙඩියේ සයිස් එකට හරියන මැෂින් එක මෙෂර්මන්ට් එකක් දෙනවා. ඕක තමයි ගවර්න්මන්ට් එකේ ඉන්ටර්ෆියරන්ස් එක. එතකොට ඇත්තටම ගවර්න්මන්ට් එක ගේ ඉන්ටර්ෆියරන්ස් එක inefficient wasteful government bureaucracy එකක් තමයි අපිට දකින්න තියෙන්නේ.
Current economy is increasingly clear that our economies are inherently flawed, arid. While substantial wealth is generated mostly by a minority leader in developed countries, the majority of the world population remains poor.
Then, when we are concerning the world economy, not only our economy or all the world economy, then what is the situation? Then situation is here say mostly by substantial wealth is generated mostly by minority leaders in developed countries. දියුණු වෙච්ච රටවල් කිහිපයක් තමයි ලෝකාර්ථිකය අල්ලගෙන ඉන්නේ. දැන් ලංකාවේ ගත්තොත් ලංකාවේ ආර්ථිකය අල්ලගෙන ඉන්නේ සල්ලි තියෙන ධනවත්තුන් කිහිප දෙනෙක් විතරයි. ඒතර ලෝකෙත් එකයි ලංකාවත් එකයි. ඒ වගේම තමයි අනිකුත් සියලුම රටවල් වල. එතකොට ආර්ථිකය මෙහෙමන්නේ ආර්ථිකය පාලනය කරන්නේ ආර්ථිකයේ ධනය අල්ලගෙන ඉන්නේ සීමිත පිරිසක්. Then majority of the economic power or majority of the economic properties held by a few people who are the leaders in market or the economy. What is the other side? Majority in the world or majority in our country are poor. The majority of the world population remains poor. So the ලෝකෙ ගොඩාක් මිනිස්සු ගත්තම ගොඩාක් මිනිස්සු දුප්පත්. ලෝකේ පොහොසත් මිනිස්සු ඉන්නේ කීප දෙනයි. ලංකාවේ ගත්තොත් ලංකාවේ ගොඩක් මිනිස්සු දුප්පත්. ලංකාවේ කීප දෙනෙක් ගාව තමයි මේ ආර්ථිකයේ සල්ලි ටික රැඳිලා තියෙන්නේ.
The gap between rich and poor keeps growing in all societies. Environmental degradation seems irreversible. Drugs and new forms of slave trade prosper. Corruption and corporate fraud are widespread.
අනිත් දේ තමයි මේ poor සහ rich එක අතර තියෙන gap එක. Then we have to review the gap between rich and poor people. Then the gap between rich and poor people are growing in all societies. Then we concern our country. When we are reviewing our country, we are spending 70 years, more than 70 years after independence. But what is the reality? During these 70 years, our gap between rich and poor are increasing, growing. වෙනසක් වෙලා නැහැ. අවුරුදු 70 තුල ආර්ථිකය මේවන්න විවිධ ආණ්ඩුවාවට ඒ කට්ටියට මේ ගැප් එක අඩු කරන්න බැරි වෙලා තියෙනවා. It is difficult to reduce the gap between rich and poor societies within 70 years from different government economic policies. That is the reality under the modern or especially traditional economics. Then when we are concerning the development, for the example, nowadays there are highways, then carpeting all roads, then many factories. What are the consequences? What are the outcome of these things? Then we can quickly travel. Within 1 and 2 hours, we can go from Colombo to Matara or Colombo to Hambantota. That is okay. However, when we are developing our highway, then concern the wastage and destroy of our natural environment, then we are ignoring those things. Therefore, the gap between rich and poor keep growing in all society, and environment always damaging according to the economic activities. Therefore, here say drugs and new form of slaves trade prosper. Then අපේ ආර්ථිකය දිහා බලන්න. දැන් මීට අවුරුදු 20කට 30කට කලින් තිබුණු දේට වඩා මේ වෙනකොට ඔයාලගේ කාලේ වෙනකොට දැන් සොසයිටි එක තුල ඩ්‍රග්ස් තියෙනවා. ඩ්‍රග්ස් හැම තැනම කුඩු බිස්නස් යනවා. කුඩුකාරයෝ ඉන්නවා. කුඩු විකුණනවා. කුඩු අල්ලනවා. ඒකට දැන් මේකද ආර්ථික සංවර්ධනය. ඒ වගේම new forms of slave trade. slaves කියලා කියන්නේ වහල්ලු කියන එක. වහල් trade එකක් තමයි යන්නේ. For the example, you are wearing tie and long sleeves and wearing shoes, you are going to office. You start 8 a.m. your work till 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 p.m. You are wearing well, but you are working as slave. අලුත් ආකාරයෙන් තමයි දැන් වහල් වෙනදාම සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ. අලුත් ආකාරයෙන් වහල් ශ්‍රමය පාවිච්චි කරනවා. කරප්ෂන් කියන එක දැන් සාමාන්‍ය දෙයක්. ගවර්න්මන්ට් දිහා බැලුවත් කරප්ෂන් එක තියෙනවා. මේ කරප්ෂන් එක වෙනවා කියලා දන්නවා. හැබැයි අපි ඒක පිළි අරගෙන තියෙනවා. දැන් බලන්න මේ ඉකොනොමි එක තුල කරප්ෂන් කියන එක කොච්චර කොමන් වෙලාද කියලා. Then when we are reviewing economy, then corruption is common thing and people are accepted the corruption. Accept the corruption. That is the reality of the economy.
Order widespread. Stock markets are running into global casinos. War is increasingly economic, motivated by either the lack or the protection of wealth.
Then stock market like a global casino. ලෝකේම පවතින කැසිනෝ එකක් බවට පත් වෙලා stock market එක. Then when concerning stock market, several people dominate the stock market. They handle the stock market. Then I think you have idea regarding the bond case එක. ගියාන්ඩුවේ තිබිච්ච බොන්ඩ් කේස් එකේදී ඊට ඉස්සෙල්ලා ආණ්ඩුවේ ස්ටොක් මාකට් එකේ කරපු සෙල්ලම් අහු වෙලා තියෙනවා. එතකොට බලන්න මේ ස්ටොක් මාකට් එක පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ ප්‍රී ස්ටොක් මාකට් එකක් නෙවෙයි. ඒකෙත් කරප්ෂන් තියෙන්නේ. Stock market is not free. It is like a corrupted place. Therefore, it's like a global casino. Then now there are new form of war. What is the new form of war? War is increasing economic motivated in the lack or the protection of wealth. Then I try to protect my wealth. මම බලනවා මගේ ධනය වැඩි කරගන්න. That is the war. එතකොට අනිත් මිනිස්සයාව මරලා හරි ඒ මිනිස්සයකින් හොරා කාලා හරි ඒ මිනිස්සයාව නැති කරලා හරි ඒ මිනිස්සයා illegally දේවල් අරගෙන හරි I try to protect my wealth. මම උත්සාහ කරනවා මගේ ධනය වැඩි කරන්න. Then people who are living in the society try to protect the wealth, destroying the other people, destroying the natural environment, destroying the other companies. We are only concerned in my protection of wealth. That is selfish.
Now we have to revisit the assumption of the traditional and modern economy. Classical economics define the world in things, of separate building blocks. Human beings are isolated consumers and producers interacting at market driven by monetary gains.
Then when compared with the traditional economic views and modern economics view, then one is classical economics define world in things, so separating building blocks, material way. Then classical economic people define world or the human or the activities material way. භෞතික විදියට තමයි කතා කරන්නේ. Human being are isolated. According to the traditional economy, human beings are isolated. Consumer and producer interest interacting at market driven by monetary gains. We කස්ටමර් ගත්තමත් නිෂ්පාදකය ගත්තමත් පාරිභෝගිකය ගත්තත් මේ දෙන්නා සෙපරේටඩ් වෙලා ඉන්නේ දෙන්නම බලන්නේ මොනිටරි ගේන් එකක්. Then as a customer or the consumer, I try to gain maximum benefit when compared with the payment. Then the producer also try to gain the maximum benefit regarding his cost. Then between the customer and producer, there is a monetary gain. Monetary gain.
In spiritual tradition, spiritual teachings point out there is reality, no independent things. Human are viewed as being part of a larger whole with which they can communicate by opening up their hearts and minds.
Then what is the spiritual traditions? Spiritual ideas. Then when we are concerning spiritual teaching, then spiritual teaching point out there is reality, no independent things. In human is not an independent. A house is not an independent. Bus is not an independent. The things are not independent. Human are viewed as being part of larger whole in with which they can communicate by opening up their heart and minds. When we are concerning human, human is an entity in the large society. Entity in the large society. Then spiritual tradition try to view the human as a holistic way. Spiritual tradition try to see the human as a holistic way. Spiritual teaching වලට අනුව independent කියලා දෙයක් නෑ. හැම කෙනාම dependent. අපි ගේ මතය අපෙනවා, ගේ අපි මතය අපෙනවා. අපි බස් එක මතය අපෙනවා, බස් එක අපි මතය අපෙනවා. මේ විදිහට මේ සමස්ත සමාජය තුළ human කියලා කියන්නේ part of part එකක්. කොටසක්. ඒතකොට මිනිසාට මේ අනිකුත් part සමග ගනුදෙනු කරන්නේ කොහොමද? Here opening up their heart and mind. Opening up their heart and mind. Heart එක සහ mind එක තුලින් තමයි මේ ගනුදෙනුව සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ කියලා කියනවා.
Different holistic views. Modern physics, the universe consists of combined patterns of energy. Einstein's favorite sayings, the field generates the object, not vice versa. That is, whole systems give rise to specific things, not the other way around. Cartesian worldview, we can only know reality by knowing specific part.
Then spiritual views explain human is a part of the whole. Then what is the modern views regarding the human, not the traditional economy? According to the modern view regarding the human, then here these slides explain three things. Modern physics explain universe consists of combined pattern of energy. Energy එක ගත්තම combined pattern එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා කියනවා. Then Einstein කියනවා the field generate the object, not vice versa. That is whole system given reached specific thing, not the other way around. Einstein කියනවා that is whole system. Whole system එකක් තුළ තමයි things දෙයක් තියෙන්නේ කියලා. Then Cartesian views, we can only know reality by knowing specific part. We can only know reality by knowing specific part. විශේෂිත කොටසක් දිහා බැලීමෙන් තමයි අපට සත්‍ය හොයාගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ කියලා.
Einstein discovered that in order to know things, we need to know the whole from which they originate. We are not isolated hard and fast physical things, but more like light beings, or energy flows, continuously interrelating and changing.
And what is the Einstein? Again, explain, in order to know things, we need to know the whole from which they originate. යම් කිසි දෙයක් ගැන අපිට දැනගන්න ඕන නම් සමස්තයත් බලන්න ඕන, සමස්තය තුලේ ඇතිවෙච්ච ආකාරයත් බලන්න ඕන කියලා කියනවා. We need to know the whole from which they originate. Then we are not isolated heart. අපි isolated වෙච්ච මිනිස්සු නෙවෙයි. Isolated heart and fast physical thing. But more like light beings or energy flows continuously interrelating and changing. මේ අඛණ්ඩව එකිනෙකට සම්බන්ධව වෙනස් වෙන ශක්ති දාමයකින් තමයි අපි නිර්මාණය වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. මේ ලෝකේ නිර්මාණය වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. හින්දා මේ ලෝකේ තියෙන දේවල් විශේෂයෙන්ම මිනිස්සු isolated නෑ කියලා කියනවා.
Then we are more like intangibles. Therefore, intangibles can't be measured in classical economic models.
Then, spiritual teaching emphasize human behavior. Then modern ideas also emphasize human and the world things are not isolated thing. It is a part of the whole system. Then both views explain single idea. මේ views දෙකම කියන්නේ එක දෙයයි. What is the idea? We are more like intangible. We are intangible. මේ ලෝකේ තියෙන ගොඩක් දේවල් intangible. ස්පර්ශ කරන්න බෑ. අතපත ගන්න බෑ. සමහරක් දේවල් දකින්න බෑ. Therefore, intangibles cannot be measured in classical economic modes. එතකොට සාම්ප්‍රදායික ආර්ථික විද්‍යා ආකෘතියක් තුළ මේ intangible එහෙම නැත්නම් ස්පර්ශ කළ හැකි දේවල් ගණනය කිරීමක් වෙන්නේ. දැන් උදාහරණයක් විදිහට ලංකාවේ ඉන්න මිනිස්සුන්ගේ මොළවල තියෙන හැකියාව, නිර්මාණශීලීත්වය මේවා අපිට මන දක්වන්න විදියක් නෑ ඉකොනොමික් මෝඩ් එක තුල, ට්‍රැඩිෂනල් ඉකොනොමික් මෝඩ් එක තුල. එහෙම නැත්නම් මිනිස්සු ගාව තියෙන අදහස්, සංකල්ප, ඔවුන්ගේ භාෂාව, ඔවුන්ගේ වටිනාකම් මේවා අපට මන දක්වන්න බෑ traditional economic modes. When we concerning the human behavior, some intangible things like our values, our ideas, our brain powers, those are unable to measure according to the classical economic mode, because classical economic mode always measure the tangible thing, measurable thing, monetary oriented thing, not the intangible things.
Traditional and modern economics and modern knowledge economy. Economic strategies are built around the possession of material things such as land, labor and capital. Spiritual traditions and modern sciences claim the opposite. They recognize the unlimited potential in every sentient being, the potential to be whole and enlightened.
Then here, I think you have idea, or you can get clear idea about these two arguments. Then economic strategy is built around the possession of material thing. Material thing. Then economic theory, economic people talking about material things such as land, labor, capital. But spiritual tradition and modern science claim the opposite of the traditional economic activities or the thoughts. What is the spiritual traditions and modern science? What are the things talking by spiritual tradition and modern science? Then they recognize unlimited potentiality of sentient being. Sentient being කියලා කියන්නේ සංවේදී හැඟීම් ඇති මිනිස්සු කියන එක. හැඟීම් ඇති මිනිස්සු, sentient beings. Then sentient beings, when concerning sentient being, they have unlimited potentiality. Unlimited potentiality. Then according to the traditional economics, they emphasize limited capacity, limited things, scarce resource. but spiritual tradition and modern science emphasize no, there is no limitations. There are no scarce resources because when concerning human potentiality are very high. Human potentiality are uncountable. ඈ ආර්ථික විද්‍යාවේදී අපි කතා කරාට මැටීරියල් තින් මැටීරියල් දේවල් ස්කාසිටි එකත් එක්ක ස්පිරිචුවල් ට්‍රැඩිෂන් සහ මොඩර්න් සයන්ස් වලදී කියන්නේ නෑ මේකේ සීමාවක් සීමිත බවක් කියන එක නෑ මොකද හියුමන් ගත්තම හියුමන් ගාව තියෙනවා අන්ලිමිටඩ් පොටෙන්ෂියලිටි එකක් අසීමිත විභවතාවයක් කියලා කියන
The key in modern knowledge economy is not consideration about material possession, know-how and creativity, the domain of the mind.
Then what is the modern economic theory? Modern economic views, modern knowledge economic view. According to modern knowledge economic, not the tradition economic, modern knowledge economic say material things are to be rejected, or we have to reject thinking about the material things, material possessions. We have to know how when creativity, the domain of the mind, how to create you, how to create through our mind, how to innovative things are bringing from our mind, the mind power. They think about mind power of human.
Most successful business strategies focus less on things but more on how to manage them. All technical and social innovation is based on what is now phrased as intellectual capital.
Then, according to modern knowledge economy, successful business strategies focus on less thing. They are not taking, or thinking about material. How many inputs, how many outputs, how many machines, how many buildings. They are not thinking. They are thinking how how to manage the available limited resource with different angles, different strategy, using human brain. අපි ගාව තියෙන සම්පත් තුලින් අමුතු විදිය දෙයක් හදන්නේ කොහොමද? ඒ තරහා අසීමිත නිෂ්පාදනයන් කරන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා හිතීම තමයි modern knowledge economy එක තුල තියෙන්නේ. Then according to modern knowledge economy, they utilize limited resource for the purpose of creating unlimited things. How? Using our brain. Then all technical social innovation is based on what is now faced as intellectual capital. Because the important thing in the today in the intellectual capital. Intellectual capital එක තමයි වර්තමානයේ වඩාත්ම වැදගත් වෙන්නේ. Intellectual capital කියන්නේ බුද්ධිමය සම්පත් කියන එක.
Conclusion about traditional or classical economic thoughts. It has turned the 19th century mechanistic matter-only worldview. We should revisit long-held axioms. The traditional concept that we are simply competitive beings follow scarce material resources is incorrect.
Then when we conclusion about traditional or the classical economic thoughts, then classical law, traditional economic based on matter only. Then they view the world as matter only world view. Then when we are revisiting the philosophy of traditional law, classical economy, then traditional concept, we are simply competitive beings. Minisu competitive minisu ini follows scarce material resources incorrect. Then they use scarcity because as a result of scarcity, they are being, or they are doing competitiveness, but it is not the correct. It is not the correct. It is not the correct.
Intangible values are equally important for our well-beings. These intangibles are stored in the mind, free from physical constraints and therefore potentially of unlimited supply.
Then intangible values are important. Then intangible values are equally important for our well-being. Well-being අපේ සංවර්ධනයට, නැත්නම් සුබ සාධනයට, සුබ සිද්ධියට මේ intangible values වැදගත්. These intangibles are stored in our mind. Mind එක තුල තමයි තියෙන්නේ. Free from physical constraint and therefore potentially of unlimited supply. Then our mind can supply how unlimitedly අපේ මනසට අසීමිත ප්‍රමාණයක් දේවල් කරන්න පුළුවන්. අසීමිත දේවල් generate කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක intangible.
Happiness of the current economy is not merely determined by what we have, how much consume, but also by, for happiness, what we know, how we can manage, how we can be created.
Well, what is the happiness? Then happiness is important because all the human being, sentient beings are expecting happiness. Why you are following degree? For the happiness. Why you are getting a job? Happiness. Why you are engaged into the marriage life? Happiness. Why you are creating babies? Happiness. Then happiness is important. Then according to the current economy, මේ වර්තමාන ආර්ථිකය අනුව happiness is not merely determined මේ විදිහට නෙවෙයි what we have and how much consume. Then through these two we can't measure the happiness. For the example, I can say I have 2 houses, 5 cars, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 billion monies. Then how much consume? Then I always spending money for the 5-star hotel. Then through my properties, so the way of consumption, we can't say I am happy. My ගාව ගෙවල් තියෙන්න පුළුවන්, ඉඩම් තියෙන්න පුළුවන්, කාර් තියෙන්න පුළුවන්, මම 5-star hotel වලින් වෙන්න පුළුවන් කන්නේ. හැබැයි මගේ සතුට, මයි ගාව සතුටක් තියෙනවද? සම්පතුත් තියෙනවා, බිල්ඩිනුත් තියෙනවා. හොඳට කනවත් බොනවා. හැබැයි sometime I am not happy. But also by for happiness, what we know, අපි මොනවාද දන්නේ කියන දේ බලන්න ඕන. What we know, how we can manage, how I manage my money, how I manage my property, and how we can be created, how we can create. කොහොමද නිර්මාණය කරන්න කියන එක අපි බලන්න ඕන.
Ultimately by who we are, so not by having, but by being. Therefore, we are human being after all.
Then ultimately, අවසාන වශයෙන්, who we are. අපි කියලා කියන්නේ කවුද? මිනිසා කියලා කියන්නේ කවුද? Who we are. Then when we are saying who we are, most of the time we are saying by having තියෙන දේවල් අනුව. That man, the man has a Pajero or a BMW car, 2-3 stories building, house. Then we are explaining people by having තියෙන දේවල් අනුව. තියෙන දේවල් අනුව තමයි අපි මිනිස් කියන්නේ. But here we have to think not by having, we have to think how by being. මනුස්සයෙක් විදියට එයා කවුද? Who is that man according to human? Not by having but by being. Therefore we are human being after all. මේ හැම දේම කරාට පස්සේ අපි ගාව තියෙන කවුද? Human. Then human may be happy or unhappy, more wealthy or more poor, but human. Human is the more important thing.
Human nature and motivation. What kind of beings are we? Happy or unhappy? Altruistic or selfish? Compassionate or competitive? Modest or greedy? Driven to seek short-term pleasure? Seeking meaning? A higher purpose? A longer-term state of happiness?
Then human nature and how human motive behave. Then under the human nature, you and I also have to review what kind of being. මොන වගේ මනුස්සයෙක්ද කියන එක අපි හිතන්න ඕන. When we are concerning what kind of being are we, then can use this question to review ourselves. Are we happy or unhappy? සතුටෙන්ද ඉන්නේ අසතුටෙන්ද ඉන්නේ? Altruistic or selfish? Am I presenting altruistic behavior or selfish behavior? පරාර්ථකාමී චර්යාවක්ද නැත්නම් ආත්මාර්ථකාමී චර්යාවක්ද? I know among the students some are altruistic, some are selfish. Yeah, when we are concerning my stuff, some are altruistic, some are selfish. සමහරක් අය පරාර්ථකාමී, සමහරක් අය ආත්මාර්ථකාමී. Then compassionate or competitive. දයාව කරුණාව වගේ දේවල් තියන අය ඉන්නවා. ඒ වගේම තරඟකාරී අය ඉන්නවා. විතරම තරඟේ හැම තිස්සෙම බලන්නේ තරඟේ. විභාගී බලන්නේ තරඟේ. රස්සාවකට යනකොටත් බලන්නේ තරඟේ. අල්ලපු ගෙදර මිනිස්සුත් එක්කත් කරන්නේ තරඟේ. competition. or compassionate. දයාව කරුණාව වගේ දේවල් තියෙනවද? මිනිස්සු ගාව. මොන වගේ මිනිහෙක්ද කියනකොට අපි පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන් whether the man is compassionate or competitive. Then modest or greedy. Modest කියන්නේ නිහතමානී, නිර්හංකාරයි. Modest, calm and quiet. Greedy. Greedy කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? මේ කෑදරකම. කෑදරයි. සල්ලි දැක්කම කෑදරයි. කෑම දැක්කම කෑදරයි. කෑදරයි. මනුස්සයා කෑදර මනුස්සයෙක්ද එහෙම නැත්නම් modest, නිහතමානී, විනීත, නිර්හංකාර මනුස්සයෙක්. Then driven to seek short-term pleasure. Then some people always behave according to fulfill the short-term pleasure, short-term goals. Then what will be happen to our life when we are concerned with short-term pleasure? Then we are living with short-term. හැමතිස්සෙම කෙටි කාලීන ඉලක්කම ජීවත් වෙන මිනිස්සු කෙටි කාලීනයි. long-term purpose එකක් නැහැ. long-term goal එකක් නැහැ. Then those people have long-term goals because they are living with short-term pleasure. Then seeking meaning. Then some people we can see they are living in the society without seeking the purpose. Then they are building relationship without meaning. They are buying something without meaning. සම්බන්ධතා ඇති කරගන්නවා අර්ථයක් නැහැ. බඩු මිලදී ගන්නවා අර්ථයක් නැහැ. ගෙවල් ගහනවා අර්ථයක් නැහැ. වාහන ගන්නවා අර්ථයක් නැහැ. Seeking meaning, then we have to think what is the life? What is the purpose of life? How we behave? Why I am building a house? Why I am buying a car? Then there should be a seeking the meaning. Then those people, the person has a higher purpose or not. Then higher purpose means life-oriented purpose. I think you have idea about the lifelong targets under self and professional development subject. Higher purpose. All have to a higher purpose. Without higher purpose, there is no good survival in modern competitive society. Then you can live, but no meaning of your life. If you need to build a meaningful life for your person or meaningful life for you, then you have to develop or build or derive. Actually, the term is derived higher purpose, higher vision or mission for your life. Then a longer term state of happiness. Then happiness, sometime within short period we can happy and then unhappy. Then we have to try, try to build in happiness not for the short term, for the long term. සතුට අපි ජනනය කරගන්න ඕන කෙටි කාලයකට නෙමෙයි දිගු කාලයකට.
Economists have accepted the principles of selfish individualism. The more the individual consumes, the better off he will be. He consumes out of perpetual needs, which if unmet make him innately unhappy.
Then economics idea. Then economics have accept the principle of selfish individualism. Then at the beginning of this lecture, I explain what is the real behavior of people selfish. Then economic theories are based on this selfishness. Then when we are concerning human as a selfish individualism or individual, then more the individual consume, the better off he will be. Then what is how to measure the happiness according to economics? Then අපි සතුට කොහොමද ආර්ථිකයේ යටතේ මනින්නේ? ආර්ථිකය තුල ආර්ථික විද්‍යාව තුල සතුට මනින්නේ more individual consume. ගොඩක් මිනිස්සු කනවා නම් පාරිභෝජනය කරනවා නම් අන්න එයා wealthy, එයා happy කියලා කියනවා. The better off he will be. When I have more building, more houses, more car, more properties, more jewelries, more monies, then it means I am happy according to the economics theories. මට ගොඩාක් සල්ලි තියෙනවා නම් මට ගොඩාක් වාහන තියෙනවා නම් මම සතුටෙන් කියලා තමයි ආර්ථික විද්‍යාවේදී කියන්නේ. He consume out of perpetual needs, which if unmet he make him innately unhappy. He consume out of perpetual need. Perpetual need. සදාතනික දිගුකාලීන අවශ්‍යතාවයන් ඔහු පරිභෝජනය කරන්නේ නැත්නම් එහෙම නැත්නම් ඔහුට අවශ්‍යතාවයන් ඉටු කරගන්න බැරි නම් which if unmet අන්න ඒ වෙලාවේදී මිනිහා unhappy වෙනවා කියලා කියනවා. Then make him innately unhappy. Why? No more individual consumption. No more individual consumption. Consumption එක අඩු හින්දා happiness එක ඇති වෙනවා කියලා කියනවා.
Economic growth is achieved when individuals consume more and more so that demand and output is not given a room for altruism.
Then according to the economic idea, what is the economic growth? Economic growth means economic growth can be achieved through when individual consume more and more. When consumer buy more and more product or service, that is the development of economy according to the economics theory. So that demand and output is not given room for altruisms. Then according to the economics theory, when we are consuming more and more, that is the growth, economic growth. But here there is no idea about the altruisms. Altruism කියලා කියන්නේ පරාර්ථකාමීත්වය ගැන අයිඩියා එකක් නැහැ. මේ ඉල්ලුම සහ නිමැවුම ගත්තම demands and output. So that demand and output is not given room for altruism. මේ ඉල්ලුම හෝ සැපයුම කියන දේවල් ගත්තම ඒක ඒ තුන පරාර්ථකාමීත්වයක් නෑ. Why I am demanding? For my selfishness. When I am concerning output also emphasize selfishness, not the altruism. පරාර්ථකාමීත්වය නෙවෙයි.
Altruism incur for no conceivable benefits, individual have to scarify. Scarification of individual for the community.
Then altruism කියලා කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? Altruism mean no conceivable benefit. Then I am giving 10,000 rupees for you without return. No conceivable benefit. Individual have to sacrifice, then I am sacrificed. Then I spend 1, 2, 3, 4 days for your assignment as a sacrification, but I am not expecting a return. That is the altruism. පරාර්ථකාමීත්වය කියලා කියන්නේ ඒක. sacrifice කරනවා return එකක් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. Sacrification of individual for the community. When I am sacrificing my money, or when I am spending my money, time, energy for the society, that is the altruism.
In future, when society practice the altruism, individual can enjoy the help given from the community.
Now, today I am doing altruism for the society. In future, one day, society also give the altruism active or return for the altruism. Then in future, when society practice the altruism, individual can enjoy the help given from the community. Today, I give the sacrification to the society. In future, then there is a automatical return. ස්වභාවයෙන් මේක අපට return එකක් විදිහට හම්බෙනවා කියලා කියනවා.
Altruism is the core of our practice, and it is the cheapest and most effective insurance for our future.
Then our future is not sure. Today I am okay, tomorrow maybe suffering a very serious illness. Then future is not secured. අනාගතය සුරක්ෂිත නෑ. Then how we build the security of future? Through the practice of altruism. මේ altruism practice කරොතින් අපට අනාගතය සුරක්ෂිත කරන්න පුළුවන්. කොහොමද? Altruism කියලා කියන්නේ cheapest and most effective way. Cheapest. දැන් මම ගිහලා සමාජයට වැඩ කරනවා. ගෙවල් ඉදරක දානයක් තියෙනවා නම් ගිහින් වැඩ කරනවා. මගුලක් තියෙනවා නම් ගිහින් උදව් කරනවා. පාර කපනවා නම් ගිහින් උදව් කරනවා. එතකොට ඒ තුලින් ඇතිවෙන ඉමේජ් එක අනාගතයේදී අපි අසරණ වෙච්ච වෙලාවකදී අපිට රිටර්න් එකක් විදිහට හම්බ වෙනවා. That is the altruism. Altruism mean the cheapest. Cheapest mean now we assume I am giving my energy to cleaning the road, or helping to a special functions in a certain place. Then in future, when I am facing a difficulty, then the society or the people who are living in the society, thinking about my past practice, past behavior, they come and support to me. That is the future insurance.
Compassion will make us happy. Compassion can only work if we accept an altruistic attitude. If compassion is harmony with our essence, we can actually enjoy being compassionate.
Then according to this idea, compassion කියලා කියන්නේ කරුණාව, දයාව. Compassion also leading to build happiness. Compassion can only work if we accept an altruistic attitude. The කරුණාව, දයාව අපිට පෙන්වන්න පුළුවන් කරන්නේ නැතුව. Can only work. කරුණාව, දයාවට පෙන්වන්න පුළුවන්. කරුණාව, දයාව හරියට කරන්නේ නැතුව. We can show compassion without real behavior. Then I am sure I am compassion, but no, my behavior oriented to the compassion. Then therefore, compassion can only work හරියට වැඩ කරන්නේ if we accept an altruistic attitude. If we have altruistic attitude, පරාර්ථකාමී අදහස් ආකල්ප වලින් ඉන්නව නම් විතරයි දයාව, කරුණාව අපි ගාව තියෙන්නේ. If compassion is harmony with our senses, we can actually enjoy being compassionate. Our senses එක්ක සම්බන්ධ වුණොත් විතරයි හරියට compassionate එක enjoy කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ.
If we are inherently selfish, any attempt to develop a compassionate attitude would be self-defeating.
Then some people are selfish. Not some people, many people are selfish. When the person is inherently selfish, then any attempt to develop a compassionate attitude, then the selfish man try to develop compassionate attitude. දයාව, කරුණාව තියෙන ආකල්පයක් මේ ආත්මාර්ථකාමී මිනිස්සෙක් වගා කරන්න යනවා නම්, ඇති කරගන්න යනවා නම්, ඒ වගේ වෙලාවකදී අපිට ඒක පේන්නේ self defeating එකක් කියලා.
Compassion is helping to effective empathy on the human mind, body, health and relationships, and also our well-being.
Compassion is helping to effect of empathy. Compassion, dayawa karunawa empathy එකට සහ කම්පණයට උදව් කරනවා කියලා කියනවා. Then empathy on human mind, body, health and relationship.
Compassionate frame of mind has positive effect on our mental and physical health as well as our social life.
Then you can imagine the results of practicing compassionate or building compassionate attitude within our personality. අපේ පෞරුෂය තුළ දයාව කරුණාව කියන එක තියෙනවා නම් ඇති වෙන දේ. Compassionate frame of mind has positive effect on our mental and physical health as well as our social life.
Lack of empathy has been found to cause or aggravate serious social, psychological and even physical disorders.
Then lack of empathy, සහකම්පනයක් නැතිවීම, කම්පා සහගත නොවීම නිසා found a cause of aggravative serious social, psychological and physical disorders.
Recent research on stress shows that people who only seek short-term pleasure are more prone to stress than those who seek a higher purpose, who seek meaning rather than pleasure. Disregarding short-term selfish needs is actually a source of longer-term happiness.
Then what is the research finding regarding the short-term pleasure? Then research finding on stress. People who only seek short-term pleasure are more prone to stress. Then short-term oriented pleasures තියෙන අය නිරතුරුවම stress වෙනවා කියලා කියනවා. ක්ලමතේ ඇති වෙනවා කියලා කියනවා. Than those who seek a higher purpose, who seek meaning rather than pleasure. Who seek meaning rather than the pleasure. Then you can imagine, then if you have a short-term pleasure, then it means you are always stressing. You are always stressing. Then if you have a long-term purpose, it means you can tolerate the stress. If you are seeking meaning rather than have pleasure, again, pleasure can have short-term pleasure. අපි කියලා ෆිල්ම් එකක් බලනවා ඒ වගේ short term pleasures වලට වඩා seek meaning අර්ථය අපි දැකීමෙන් අපිට stress අඩු කර ගන්න පුළුවන් කියලා කියනවා. I think now here I explain this thing, happiness and unhappiness. If we are practicing altruism behavior, then we can gain happiness, but when we are present in selfish behavior, then unhappy. Compassionate also bring the happiness. Competitiveness bring the unhappiness. Modest bring the happiness. Greedy bring the unhappiness. Driven to short-term pleasure leading to unhappiness. Seeking meaning leading to happiness. Higher purpose leading to happiness. Then likewise, finally here say, disregarding short-term selfish need is actually a source of long-term happiness. If you need to build a long-term happiness, then you have to practice a long-term behavior like altruism behavior, modest behavior, compassionate. Then through these we can achieve long-term happiness. Then finally say, then classical economic notion of selfish individualism upside down. උඩු යටි කුරු වෙනවා කියලා කියනවා.
Stress shows that people who only seek short-term pleasure are more prone to stress than those who seek a higher purpose, who seek meaning rather than pleasure. Disregarding short-term selfish needs is actually a source of longer-term happiness. Then, classical economic notion of selfish individualism upside down. Main human impulses, competition and consumption. Competition and consumption have sidestepped spiritual and moral issues. Economists have overlooked that the more we consume, the happier we are.
Then, as a conclusion regarding the spiritual teaching, modern economic, knowledge economy, and traditional economy, then competition and consumption have sidestepped spiritual and moral issues. Then competition and consumption is a one area. Competition and consumption, those are based on material thing, and they explain behave as one side of human behavior. තරඟකාරීත්වය සහ පරිභෝජනය කියන එක ශෙල්පිස් මත ආත්මාර්ථකාමීත්වය මත පදනම් වෙන එක පැත්තක් මිනිස්සුන්ගේ. තවත් පැත්තක් තියෙන මිනිස්සුගේ මොකක්ද? ස්පිරිචුවල් and moral issues. ස්පිරිචුවල් ලයිෆ් එකක් තියෙනවා. ලෞකික ජීවිතයක් තියෙනවා. මොරාල් සදාචාරාත්මක හැඟීමක් තියෙනවා. එතකොට තරඟකාරීත්වය සහ පරිභෝජනය කියන එක මිනිසාගේ එක පැත්තක් නියෝජනය කරනකොට ලෞකික සහ සදාචාරය කියන එක තව පැත්තක නියෝජනය කරනවා. එතකොට මේ දෙක අතරින් economics have overlooked that more we consume, that is the happier we are. Then according to economics, when we are consuming more, that is the happiness.
According to economics, market will bring us all the things that we want.
Then this is I think important, this is important. According to economics, market will bring us all the things that we want. When the political we can buy everything we need, according to our needs.
Our contentment is obtained by the senses.
Then our contentment truptiya, satisfaction. Our satisfaction is obtained by senses. What are the senses? Five senses. Then we all have five senses: mouth, nose, ear, eye, likewise five senses. Then our happiness obtained by our senses. මේ පංචේන්ද්‍රයන්ගෙන් ලබා ගන්න දේවල් අනුව තමයි contentment එක, happiness එක තියෙන්නේ වෙන්නේ.
Consuming material goods leads sensual experiences.
Then according to the economics, when we are consume a good, then there is a sensual experience. For the example, when I am enjoying ice cream, then there is a sensual experience, happiness, or satisfaction, contentment, according to the economy. ආර්ථික විද්‍යාවට අනුව මම අයිස්ක්‍රීම් එකක් කන නම් එතන sensual experience එකක් ඇති වෙනවා. Sensual experience එකක් ඇති වෙනවා.
This feeds an emotion of sensual desire.
Then what is the end? The speed and emotions of sexual desires. Then I like to eat ice cream. Why? Ice cream bring the sensual experience. Sensual experience. That is the human nature. I think this is also explained by the economy. Then what is this for? Market. In the market, there are many things available we can buy. When we are buying something, we get the contentment using our senses. අපේ sensors හරහා අපි මේක තෘප්තිය ලබනවා. එතකොට කොහොමද sensors හරහා තෘප්තිය ලැබෙන්නේ? යම්කිසි දෙයක් අපි ගන්න when I am buying something, then there is a sensual experience. යම්කිසි දෙයක් ගන්නකොට ඒ තුල sensual experience එක, happiness එකක් ඇති වෙනවා. ඒ නිසා අපි තුල sensual desire එකක් ඇති වෙනවා. අපි තුල sensual desire එකක් ඇති වෙනවා. දැන් බලමු මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ කියලා. We will see what is happening.
At the same time, competitors are longing after desire, the same things on the limited resources.
Then as a consumer, we can buy everything. Then through our goods and services, we are getting sensual desires. In other side, in the market side,
Desire.
market side,
At the same time, competitors are longing after desire, the same things on the limited resources.
then competitors are there. At the same time, competitors are longing after or desire the same things on the limited resource. You have to remember, when we are fulfilling our sensual desires fulfill through the scarce resource. මේ scarce resource එක නිසා competition එකක් ඇති වෙලා තියෙනවා. competition එක නිසා competition එක ඇවිත් තියෙන්නේ limited resource. then competitors ලා ඔන්න අතරේ desires සුත් තියෙනවා. competitors අතරේ desires තියෙන හින්දානේ අය වැඩ කරන්නේ. then
hence we experience fear, the fear of losing out, the fear that our desire will not be satisfied.
Then what will be happen? Then as a consumer, we have the sensual desires. Ice cream කන්න ආසාවක් තියෙනවා. I have a desire for eating ice cream. Then resources are scarce. සම්පත් සීමිතයි. Therefore, there is a competition. Why competition? Desire. We assume the producer, then ice cream owners ලගාව ice cream හදන මිනිස්සු ගාව සම්පත් සීමිතයි. Then එයා තියෙන desires මොනවාද? Profit earning, more sales. Then ice cream producer think about how to increase the profit, desire. But the resources are limited. Then consumer, the customer has sensual desires, producer has desires for money. Then what will be happen? Hence we experience fear. As a consumer, I am fear. As a producer also fear. Why? Losing out. The fear that our desire will not be satisfied. මං කල්පනා කරනවා මට අයිස්ක්‍රීමක් ගන්න බැරි වෙයිද? එතකොට නිෂ්පාදකයා කල්පනා කරනවා මගේ අයිස්ක්‍රීම් විකුණ ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙයිද? Then consumer think how I am buying ice cream. Then the producer also think how I selling the ice cream. Then both have fear. බයක් තියෙනවා. Buyer, fear.
Mechanism of expanding capitalism is based by two strong emotions. First, desire. Second, fear.
Then now can imagine the reality of the economics. What is the economic reality? Economic reality or the economic is functioning based on two things. ආර්ථිකය දුවන්නේ සාධක දෙකක් මත. Strong emotions දෙකක් මත. මොකද්ද? Desire. හැම කෙනා ගාම desire තියෙනවා. Consumer, the producer desires තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම desire එක නිසා fear එකක් ඇති වෙනවා. desire එක නිසා fear එකක් ඇති වෙනවා. බයක් ඇති වෙනවා. එහෙනම් ආර්ථිකයේ මේ competition එක, limited resource, මේ හැම දෙයක්ම, everything in the economy based on two emotions, desires and fears.
Buddha taught, emotions are based on ignorance and a misconception of reality. They can be removed by the understanding of reality. According to Buddhism, happiness is an inner experience, available to anyone, regardless wealth or poverty. Fundamentally, there is nothing that we lack.
Then what is the Buddha thought? Then Buddha explained emotions are based on ignorance. Moha. Moha. Ignorance කියලා කියන්නේ ignorance කියලා කියන්නේ මෝහය, අවිද්‍යාව, නූගත්කම, ignorance, misleading කියන එක. Emotions are based on ignorance and a misconception of reality. Reality, you can't see the reality through emotions. Then emotion is ignorance. Then they can be removed by the understanding of the reality. You can ignore the, you can remove the ignorance. Amohe, avidyava, ayin karanna puluwan. How? Review understanding the reality. When you have a real understanding the reality of the thing, then you can ignore, you can remove the ignorance. According to Buddhism, happiness is an inner experience, abhyantarika experience available to anyone. Every people have happiness, regardless wealth or poverty. ධනවත් මිනිස්සුද, පොහොසත් මිනිස්සුද, මධ්‍යම ප්‍රාන්තිකයේද එහෙමම ගුන්නේ හැම කෙනාම ගාව අභ්‍යන්තරයේ තියෙන දෙයක් තමයි happiness. Happiness is an inner experience. Inner experience. Fundamentally there is nothing that we lack. අපි ගාව කිසිම දෙයක් අඩුයි කියලා නෑ. අපි අඩුයි කියලා හිතුවොත් තමයි අඩු. අපි අඩුයි කියලා හිතුවේ නැත්නම් fundamentally we are same, all are same.
By developing the mind and inequalities, we can experience perfect wholeness and contentment. Finally, if we share with others, we will find that we are not surrounded by competitors. Others depend on us as we depend on them.
Then what is Buddha's idea? By developing the mind and inner qualities, then we have to develop our mind. Buddhist philosophy is based on mind development. Mind development. Then through developing our mind, then we can develop usually inner qualities. Then combination of mind and inner qualities, we can experience perfect wholeness and contentment. සතුටක් අපට ගන්න පුළුවන්. Finally, we share with others. අපට අනිත් අයත් එක්ක share කර ගන්න පුළුවන්. We will find that we are not surrounded by competitors. අපි ගාව තරඟකරුවෝ නෑ. When we are sharing with other people, there is no competitor. දැන් ඔයාලා ඉගෙන ගන්නකොට මොනවා හරි අලුත් නෝට් එකක් හම්බුනොත් අනිත් අයට දෙනවා නම් එතන කම්පිටිෂන් එකක් නෑ. ෂෙයාරින් එකක් තියෙනවා. කම්පිටිෂන් එකක් නෑ, ෂෙයාරින් එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා other depend on us. අනිත් අය අපි මත යැපෙනවා as we depend on them. අපි ඔවුන් මත යැපෙනවා. I think it is enough for today. Now 10:30, 10:25. Okay, it is enough for today's session. Then I think you have more time to enjoy today. Today is the first of this year. Enjoy your life. Stay with safe regarding COVID-19. Okay, bye. මේ කවුද මේකේ මේ රෙප්‍රසෙන්ටටිව් ඉන්නේ? රෙප්‍රසෙන්ටටිව් අද ඇවිත් ඉන්නවද දන්නේ නැනේ. රෙප්‍රසෙන්ටටිව් එදා අපට හිටියේ කවුද? තිලාන්. තිලාන් නැද්ද අද? තිලාන්?
Yes, sir.
අද ඔයාලගේ රෙප්‍රසෙන්ටටිව් හිටියද? දැක්කේ නැද්ද?
ඔව් sir.
හිටියද?
හිටියද දැන් නැහැ.
දැන් ගිහිල්ලානේ. හරි okay තිලාන්. තිලාන්. හරි okay. Okay bye.